You know the type of hot rod shop that has a ton of projects of their own to do, but they always end up seeming to work on someone else's? Well, that's us. As soon as we get started on one of our projects, something else comes in and somebody else is working on it. That's a car man's life. Then we realized if we're ever going to get anything of our own done, we got to make a change. So we made a list. We made a list of all the stuff we needed to do and everything of ours we wanted to work on and stuff around the shop we needed to do. And one by one, we're going to get them knocked off. We're 256 Garage. Okay, here it is up on jack stands, and you can see we got the wheel with the street tires on it. We've changed everything to 5 lug already, but we've got to put different axles in it because these are still the C-clip kind, and we don't want to go with C-clip eliminators, so we're going to narrow it up, put some axles in it with the 9-inch ends. As you can see how this wheel fits very good, and if you look up under here, it's close to the shock. And plus it's like a 16-inch wheel, so we don't want to put slicks on it, and it don't match our front ones. Well, we got some to match the front ones, but they are a different offset. Right here you can see they're 15 by 8 with a 3.5-inch offset, and when you get the slick on there, you can see what's going to happen. It's going to sit down on top of the slick. So we're about 3.5-inch offset. We really need a 5.5-inch offset to make everything fit good, because we want our wheel to tuck. So I'll let you see here. When we put this wheel up on here, we've got plenty of clearance from the inside under the shock. Like that side over there is up against the shock and it is close to the wheel, but I think that one has it's more like a 7-inch wheel with a 4.5-inch offset, something like that. So our plan is to cut 2 inches out of this, and that'll move us, well, find my tape measure here. And of course we've got a metric tape measure. Anyway, when we cut 2 inches out of this, that's going to move us about right here. So we'll still be clearing the shock. We'll be close to the inner wheel. We may have to massage it a little, but like I said, everybody said a 5.5-inch offset will fit. So we cut 2 inches off this, that should make a 3.5-inch offset perfect. So anyway, we're going to get this thing set up on jack stands, get the rear end down, start removing the brakes, get the emergency brake cables loose, get the brake line loose, and start setting this rear end out. We get the rear end out, then we can get it all disassembled, ready for narrowing. Okay, if you can see, we got all the brakes pulled off and removed. We're gonna put everything in a box, keep up with them drums and these axles, because when we get done with all this, the drums, axle, and brakes, if we got another stock Fox body, say like that blue hatch over there, and we want to make it 5 lug, we'll have all the stuff put back to make it 5 lug. But I'm gonna show you a little trick on how to get these cables out for the emergency brakes. I got them little keepers that expand. Get you a 13mm wrench, slide that wrench over there, and you kind of work it around, and you'll get them things mashed in, and then you can grab a hold of that cable. Well, this may be tricky with 2 hands, one on the camera, but you get that thing just right. Okay, hold on a minute. We're gonna have to work with this here. I don't know if you can see that on my, see if we can set you up where you can see it. Takes 2 hands, right there. You get 2 hands on it, pops right out. But that wrench fits tight around them keepers, and you can mash them things in, and that cable will come right out. That's a lot easier than trying to fight with them. Just use that wrench. Okay, we're up under the Mustang here to get the rear end out. If you can see, we already got the Lakewood shocks, the AJE rear suspension with the adjustable arms. We're fixing to get ready to take the drive shaft loose, pull all that loose, get the brake line loose, and then we'll be able to drop this thing down. So we'll get started on that, and we should have her out here in just a few minutes. Okay, we've got everything loose. We're gonna try to set it out. Got it up on the jack. I don't know if I can set this camera somewhere where y'all can see or not. The way everything is around here. Try to ease her down. See if we can pull it out. Okay, well here it is out on the ground. So now we'll just get it back here to the tear down table, get it set up on the table, drain all the oil out of it, start getting the center carrier and the axles out of it, get them backing plates and stuff off. We'll have to get everything cleaned up and it'll be ready to start cutting. Okay, so we got this thing set up on our rear end jig table. Okay, it was something else, but we just made it into this when we seen how good it fit. We're gonna get the back cover off, drain all the gear oil, get the insides out, axles out, then get it washed and cleaned up, get it ready to start cutting on. Let's take a look inside. It's got a 410 gear, and I believe it's a Richmond mini spool. It's a Ford Motorsport gear. I put it in there several years ago when I first started drag racing that car. Well, not when I first started drag racing. I had a it wasn't 8.8, it was the 7.5, and it had a 327 gear, and me and my uncle pulled out the spider gears, the carrier, and he welded the spider gears to each other and to the carrier. And I drag raced it. Of course, I was only running like 850s in the eighth of a mile. It was just a mild 302. I mean mild, like a late model 80, 90, 93, I think. High output 5.0, like out of a GT Mustang, with a 289 cast iron intake. Open shorty headers and a water pump drive kit with a C5 with a 8-inch converter, and gutted out. I mean, that thing was stripped down, and that thing is stall. It wouldn't run too fast, but it would stall. And like I said, we'd run about 850s, and then finally it broke the one side one night, and I put the bigger motor in it and upgraded to the 8.8 and bought this set up. But we'll pull that bolt out right here. When you pull that bolt out right here, you can slide them blocks out. Get them blocks slid out, push your axles in, get the C-clips out, and then we can slide our axles out. We'll pull these 4 bolts, and we'll pull our carrier assembly out all together. Make sure we're keeping any shims on this side, and the race for the bearing, and any shims on this side and the race for the bearing all together. And we'll just put a coat hanger or a zip tie through it or something just to keep it all together where it won't get moved around. There's your little pin that holds the bolt that holds the pin in. Make sure you don't lose that, because it's not just a regular bolt. You reach up in here, get where you can, Push that pin out. Grab a hold of it. Slide it out. Now I usually put that pin back in so it won't come up gone. Or bolt. Turn it around here. Now we'll spin these blocks out. Push the axle in. Tap that seat clip a little bit. There's your C-clip. So this is what we're getting away from. We're taking these axles out because they pin in like this. If you break an axle, that thing's just shooting out. When we put the bolt-in axles, if it breaks right in here, it'll stay rolling and all that. Slide your axle out. Push this one in. There's a C-clip for that side. Pull them out like that. Then you can get your ends out. Okay, kind of show you how this works. So this fits on each axle, and then these blocks slide through here, and then your pin goes through it through the carrier, and that locks everything together where nothing will move. Now some of these are shims, so you have to watch, make sure you don't have a shim back there. But this can fit tight and good with no shims, so we don't have none of them to keep up with. But now that's got that loose and got the axles out of the way. So we're ready to take these bolts out and get the carrier out. Keep up with your caps, which side they come off of. You don't want to mix none of that up. These things are like machine fit. Now I'll show you, you can't really see no shims in there, but you got your spacer and then your race, your spacer, then your race, and any shims will be between there. Like this, you can't really tell if there's any in there, but some of them shims are so thin that it's hard to really tell until you pull it out. We're gonna have to get some help with that. Like I said, it's a tight fit. Got everything the way it was. See, if you look at these close, they're beveled on the one side. Now I've lost my coat hanger. Now we've got all this tied together, and we won't get mixed up on what side is which side. All right, we'll get our axles out now. We got all our stuff there together. Got the carrier and all that stuff, and the axles. Like the axles we're not going to reuse. The mini spool we will. The axles we'll just put with them parts we took out of the brakes, and we'll keep all that together so we have complete 5 lug to go in another car. Okay, now we're going to zip these backing plates off. Well, okay, there it is. That's going to do it for this video. We got it stripped down. Still got the pinion in it. I can't find an 1 1/16 socket to get the nut off so we can get the pinion out. But when you take the nut off and you take your yoke, you got an inner and an outer bearing and race. Just make sure you do like you do the carrier. Keep it up with it, which is inner and which is outer. Put a wire through it or a zip tie or something to keep it all together. But we're going to get it out there, clean it up. We're going to have to cut these brackets right here off because we're going to go, like I said, we're going in about 2 inches, so that's going to put us about right there. So we'll have to cut them off each side. We'll get it all cleaned up. I don't know if we're going to put the braces from here, but we'll probably weld the tubes here to strengthen it. But like I said, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Appreciate you checking out the 256 list, and hopefully we can keep some of our projects going.